No matter how much we want to believe it, time and effort don't equal results. Because if they did, then everyone who's been grinding Spanish for years would be fluent, and they're not. So why do some people get there so fast while others never do? The truth is, it was never about the number of hours, but rather the efficiency of them.
Soy Hamid, hablo 4 idiomas y aprendí español 4 veces más rápido que el estudiante medio en solo 120 horas.
So let's break down what actually makes an hour of Spanish study effective. You probably see this all the time where two people will study for the same number of hours, yet one will seemingly get fluent much faster than the other. Sure, the first instinct that we have, and what our egos tell us, is that the other person had an unfair advantage, like, oh, they just have higher IQ, or, oh, they're younger than me, or, oh, they had insert X excuse. Our egos obviously want to tell us that the other person didn't do anything better than us, rather that they had an unfair advantage. And so naturally, the first instinct we have is to say that the other person is lying about the results, that they're lying about how much they studied, it's impossible, and so on, right? Because not all methods of study are created equal, and not all methods of study get you the same results for the amount of effort that you put in. So what makes an efficient hour of study? What makes Spanish study effective, okay? And for context, my Spanish study of 120 hours of study is about 4 times faster than the average learner. There are 3 things that make Spanish study effective: what you study, how you study, and how often you study. Those are the 3 biggest levers. Firstly, let's talk about what you study. So ask yourself the question, what do you want? What do you actually want when you say that you want to get fluent in Spanish? Because saying that you want to reach conversational fluency is completely different than saying that you want to reach native level fluency. And for most people, if you're watching this video or watching this type of content, then you only really care about conversational fluency. You want to be able to have a back and forth with a native. Defining that goal actually matters a lot, because a lot of people do basically a lot of distracting things that don't actually, move the needle. Because if your goal is conversations with natives, and then ask yourself the question, do conversations require reading or writing? No. So then why would we read or write to learn Spanish? And so this goes into what I mean when I say what you study, because a lot of people are reading or writing to learn Spanish when it's not congruent with their goal, meaning it doesn't match what they want to achieve. If they want to achieve conversations, then it doesn't make sense to do anything but things that actually are included in conversations. Another part that's included in what you study is the actual words that you study. Are you studying words that reoccur in Spanish a lot, that actually occur in conversations, right? You're studying random words that you only hear here and there, but aren't actually the core of the language, right? Because actually in Spanish, there's about 1,000 words that are used in basically every sentence, right? Some verbs like, ser, estar, ir, haber, verbs like these are genuinely used so much in Spanish. And so ask yourself, are you studying random words that don't actually move the needle if your goal is conversational fluency? Because if you're not, then that's what we got to change. That's what's holding our efficiency of study back. The concept here is leverage, okay? Leverage just means getting more output for the inputs that you put in, okay? And so that's what efficiency is in study. It is every hour gets you closer to your goal than someone else's hour, which means your hours are more efficient or effective. Another form of high leverage study is, for example, are you using high leverage cognates in Spanish? Because if you didn't know, Spanish and English, or Spanish is a Latin language and English is a Germanic language, but they actually both have deep Latin roots, obviously, because Spanish is Latin. And so because of that, you can actually transfer thousands of words in English to Spanish just because of those roots. And so there are about 3,000 words in Spanish, or even more probably, that you can just transfer directly from English to Spanish. These are known as cognates. And so are you taking advantage of high leverage study? So that's another example of a high leverage study that you can implement, cognates, right? This makes a massive difference, because imagine 2 people have the same goal. They both want to reach conversational fluency. They both want to have conversations with natives. But this guy does flashcards reading 30 random nouns that don't really occur in conversations, like headphones, alien, and words like that. Versus this guy who learns 2 cognate rules. Words in English that end in ation become acción in Spanish. Words that end in al in Spanish are the same in English. Words that end in ation in English become acción in Spanish, like presentación, cancelación, and so on. And he learns them by speaking them, not by reading or writing. Who do you think is going to get closer to conversational fluency from that study? Obviously this guy, right? Because what he studied was more effective. It gave him more results for the effort that he put in. So that's what you study, okay? And that matters a lot. And by the way, if you're just getting started, I highly recommend joining the Speedy Spanish Hub. It's a free community I created with a bunch of free resources and guides to help you start learning Spanish with these methods. And it'll be the first link in the description. But you can still study the right things and still not get fluent. And that leads me to the second thing, which is how you study. And this matters more than a lot of people think. No matter what the work is, how you do the work matters. How you study matters. This is a concept called deep work versus shallow work. Okay, and if you read Cal Newport's book on this, you'll probably resonate a lot with this concept, which is essentially just that not all work is created equal. Certain tasks require less cognitive focus or sort of mental effort than others, and some tasks require way more sort of brain points, right, or mental effort. And for example, replying to emails and replying to texts and stuff like that can be considered shallow work, right? Things that you can just kind of do. It doesn't require as much sort of mental effort. Whereas, for example, writing a book or scripting a video can be considered a more cognitively demanding task and therefore a deep work task. What a lot of people ignore is that Spanish is actually a deep work task. It's not like this task that you can just kind of do willy-nilly and expect to get good results from. Effort, because it requires a lot of mental effort. And so it's not something that you want to be multitasking. This is also why people who do Duolingo never get fluent, you know? Like the meme of like Duolingo motherfuckers, when you ask them to say something in Spanish, it's like they don't know what to say, right? Fundamentally, 1 hour of kind of being on your phone, half-assing the study, is less effective than the person who puts on noise-cancelling headphones, puts their phone on silent, and fully locks in on the work. It doesn't matter what they studied. The person who did the latter got more results from the study. They studied because of how they studied. Understanding the why, not memorizing the what. This one can almost be grouped into what you study, but I separate them because it's almost like a mindset shift. Most people, when they're learning Spanish, let's say you want to learn the 10 most common verbs in Spanish. We know that that's what we want to study because it's higher leverage. Now, what most people will do is memorize all the conjugations to those verbs. The way that most people will approach those 10 verbs is that they'll memorize the what, meaning they'll just memorize the conjugations of the verbs directly with no sort of logic applied. I do it, and the way that I teach it personally is that we want to understand the why. We want to understand why a conjugation is like that. We want to understand why a sentence is how it is. Because let me give you an analogy, okay? What is higher leverage? Memorizing every example of the plus symbol being used, of 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 5 plus 5, 6, and so on, or understanding the why behind the plus symbol, understanding what the plus symbol and the equal sign mean, and then practicing on some examples. What is more effective? Well, obviously understanding what the plus symbol means, because on one hand, you basically have to memorize every single equation, whereas on the other hand, you just have to understand the logic of the equations. And then once you understand them, you're able to solve any equation. And so the equivalent of this in Spanish is, for example, if you were to memorize me gusta, for example, right, which means I like it. There's a difference between just memorizing me gusta means I like it versus understanding what me gusta actually means in its logic. Because me gusta literally in its logic means it is pleasing to me. And so if you understood that I like it means it is pleasing to me in Spanish, well then if you want to say they like it, you would know that you'd have to say it is pleasing to them. You understood the logic. And so then you'd say les gusta, which is correct if you want to say they like it. But if you just memorize me gusta, you wouldn't be able to say they like it because you'd probably make a mistake. You'd probably say me gustan or something like that. Spanish logic reoccurs, okay? You will almost never find one sort of irregularity in isolation, an irregularity that's not included in a pattern, meaning it doesn't reoccur, okay? The irregularities have patterns. And so how irregular is something if it has patterns, right? Not as irregular as you may have thought, and especially not irregular enough for you to force yourself to memorize every example rather than understanding the logic. The next way to make your Spanish study more efficient is not studying with notebooks. Okay, and this goes back to the first point, which is that, you know, if our goal is conversations, then you gotta ask yourself, what is conversations? Because what is it that we actually want? Like, what do we want to have happen? Conversations don't have any reading or writing, do they? No, they only have two things: speaking and understanding. When I say understanding, I mean understanding spoken Spanish. And so if you think about what a conversation is, it's a back and forth, right? And so it's this sort of back and forth of one person speaking and the other person listening and understanding, and then switch. The other person is speaking and you're the person who is listening and understanding. And so fundamentally, the first point we went through is that if what you're studying isn't speaking and understanding spoken Spanish, then your study is fundamentally lower leverage, right? Less efficient. But this ties back into how you study, where when you're trying to learn something or remember something, are you writing it down on your notebook or are you saying it out loud to yourself? Because the problem is when you are writing it down in your notebook, it's a sort of psychological thing where when you write it down and you close the notebook and set it, You're setting it and forgetting it. Like, that's why we have that phrase of set it and forget it. Like, you're writing it down and then you're forgetting it. That's the function of the notebook, right? Think about, like, that's the whole function of writing. It is in order to have documentation of the thing. But you don't want documentation of learning Spanish. No, you want to actually speak Spanish. You want to actually know Spanish, right? You don't want the language on your piece of paper. You want the language in your head. Everyone tells you to have notes, right? To write notes. And here's the thing, right? That is true if your goal includes reading or writing. If you are practicing for a written test, of course you should read. Of course you should write. Of course, right? Duh. But if you are practicing for a spoken test, right, an oral test, why would you write? Right? And a conversation is an oral test, not a written test. Any form of reading or writing is fundamentally less leverage. Now, of course, like one FYI, like you're going to have some reading or writing when you learn Spanish because it's the nature of accessing resources and stuff. But also people think that like reading or writing in Spanish is hard, when in reality it's like the same as English, except honestly easier because they don't have any like weird random silent letters. For example, like the H's in Spanish are completely silent. They're always completely silent. So it's not weird like English, right? I said, for example, in one video that Spanish is pronounced exactly how it's written, which is true, okay? When I said it, I didn't mean like literally. Obviously, there are some differences. Where in English, like certain words will end with E and the E won't be pronounced, right? Whereas in Spanish, it will always be pronounced, right? So suave in Spanish, suave, right? You can see that E is pronounced, for example. Finally, the last thing for how you study is basically just a lot of like BS. There's a lot of things that aren't moving the needle, but they sort of feel like they do. Your emotions tell you that that you should do it, but they don't actually contribute to the goal. So like people who color code certain things or passively watch Spanish content without actually listening properly and pausing to see if they understand. Listening to Spanish music, there's stuff that we want to do because we think that it helps, like changing the language of your phone to Spanish, or like these small things that you hear online. In reality, none of those really move the goalpost. It's like mental masturbation. It's like this itch that we have to show that we're learning Spanish or that like we're color coding certain things. It's just stuff that don't actually matter that we want to do anyway. And so you can do them, but they do make your hour of study less effective. 10 minutes of it was spent on color coding and changing the language of your phone, for example, or stuff like that, right? Okay, so we have what you study and how you study. So now you're studying the right things the right way. The final element to this that is actually the most important and matters more than the two that we've just gone through, which is how often you study. Because no matter what, like there is a constant in language learning and just learning in general, which is repetition, okay? Simple mechanism of learning, meaning like for your brain to be able to remember something, it has to deem it as important. And it will only deem it as important if it shows up in its environment, which is just a complicated way of saying, if you do not do it, you will lose it. Simple as that, right? And so ultimately, it doesn't matter if you study the best things possible and you do it the correct way. If you only do it once, you won't remember it. It's as simple as that, okay? And so consistency trumps everything. But another aspect to this, which is very important, is that cramming a lot of hours into a short period is actually worse than spreading the hours out. The more you spread them out and the more consistent they are, the definition of consistency is basically just the time between each study session is equal. That's what consistent means. It keeps going in the same way, right? It follows a pattern. The more spread out it is, the better it is because it's more reminders essentially. And so 100 hours of study crammed into a short period of 1 month is worse and will give you less results than 100 hours spread across 3 months or 6 months. Even if it's the same study, the same way of studying, everything's the same. The only difference is the period of time. One that is spread out more will actually be more effective. This doesn't mean you have to spread out all your hours into a period of 2-3 years, even though you could if you wanted to. But it does mean that it's better than cramming it into a period of 2-3 weeks or a month, right? This is also because you get to sleep more. And if you didn't know, sleep is the main thing when it comes to your mental capacity and your brain points, basically your mental effort, which is required to learn language, obviously. And so you just simply got more total sleep if you spread it across several months than if you did it in 2 weeks. And so what this means is for your study, make your studying into a schedule, not a sort of emotional sort of motivation. Okay, if you're just studying randomly whenever you want, spontaneously, just whenever you feel like it, then it is less likely that your hours will be as efficient as someone who schedules them. And so all in all, when you put all this together and you compare one person who does the what, how, and how often perfectly, and the person who does it very poorly, there will be a massive discrepancy between these two people's results, even if they put in the same number of hours. Okay. And so that's how it's possible for some people to get fluent 3 times faster, 4 times faster than the average learner. Fundamentally, the person who's getting fluent faster isn't literally putting in more effort and time and effort and resources, but rather is simply just getting more out of the existing time and effort that they're putting in. It's kind of like how if one person is earning $100,000 a year and the other person is earning $50,000 a year, would you assume that the person who's earning $100,000 a year is working double the hours as the person who's earning $50,000 a year? No, you just assume that they get more per hour of work. Everyone understands that concept for salaries, but not for results in Spanish. In reality, the people who get fluent faster aren't lying to you. Even though there are a lot of scammers out there and a lot of people who are lying, there are a lot of people who I would consider myself in that group who aren't arbitrarily underestimating the definition of fluency to match their results, nor are they lying about the amount of hours that they studied, but rather their hours of study was worth more than yours. And that doesn't make you worse than them. It just makes you different. Okay. And this is why at the end of my videos, I say stay humble, because fundamentally the mindset that a lot of people have when they're learning Spanish is that, wait, this guy got a better result than me, but he can't be better than me. So therefore he's lying. And so that's the ego talking. It's telling you that if I can't do it, then no one else can because I'm better than everyone else. And that's a really poor mindset to have. If you think like that, then you're right. You won't ever get fluent because your belief contradicts the path to fluency. But the truth is that your study was probably just less leverage. The truth is that your study was just less efficient. The good news is that isn't unchangeable news. Okay. That is actually something that you can change. You can today start and make your 1 hour of study worth way more than the average person's hour of study. And fundamentally, that's how you get fluent fast. Okay. It's not this magic pill that you swallow. It is simply just a change of strategy and the reallocation of time, effort, and resources. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you're serious about learning Spanish and you want help from me, you can check the second link in the description. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed and stay humble.